What it is, everybody. Thanks for joining me this evening. I have some breaking news. I was putting together an entire story called Banging the Drums of War, which I'm going to bring to you after this breaking update, which I thought I should get out as fast as possible. This is the top story on Zero Hedge right now with a more understandable headline. Broken on CNN Turkey. I was showing you a translation of CNN Turkey. U.S. Navy destroyer armed with tomahawks arrives off Syrian coast, harassed by Russian warplanes. I'm just going to go to the source article and we can glean what we can from it. The translation isn't perfect. U.S. ship moved to Syria. Russian jets were airing, but we can get the gist here. U.S. destroyer Donald Cook, which carries 60 Tomahawk missiles, left Cyprus's Larnaca port and landed near Syrian territorial waters, and then is suggesting that Russian planes harassed the ship 4 times with low flights. It's claimed that the U.S. Donald Cook named destroyer left Cyprus's Larnaca port, landed near Syrian territorial waters. It was claimed that the missile destroyer named Arleigh Burke, class Donald Cook, reached Talis, 100 kilometers away, and had 60 Tomahawk missiles on board. It is they are also reporting that they've been harassed by Russian planes. This is, like I said, breaking news. I'll publish this as soon as I finish recording. As of 23:01, they say. I guess it's probably about an hour old. It's probably about an hour old, this story, right now. And I'm going to play some evidence for you as part of the research I was doing earlier that those concerns are not unfounded. As for us being on the brink of another attack in Syria based on an alleged chemical weapons attack. Let me play you what Donald Trump said today.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin by condemning the heinous attack on innocent Syrians with banned chemical weapons. It was an atrocious attack. It was horrible. You don't see things like that, as bad as the news is around the world. You just don't see those images. We are studying that situation extremely closely. We are meeting with our military and everybody else, and we'll be making some major decisions over the next 24 to 48 hours. We are very concerned when a thing like that can happen. This is about humanity. We're talking about humanity, and it can't be allowed to happen.
Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. I bring you the news, the real news.
Now, Mattis admits there was no evidence President Assad used poison gas on his own people.
What it is. Holy cow, it's hard doing a live show. You got to see Doshi up there. For people who don't tune in regularly, they were probably wondering what that lazy cat was doing in the corner. Whew. Okay, we got here. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Nathan Stolman. That is Doshi producing the show. It's hot in the garage today, so he is taking it easy, as we all should be. We have drums of war being beaten in relation to Syria. And this is a serious matter. Maybe I shouldn't have even played the intro today. This is pretty serious. So what I did is I pulled together some of the things being said. Now you've already heard what Donald Trump said. You heard defense in English from the Syrian representative at the UN Security Council meeting. There were 2 UN Security Council meetings today. We listened to all of that. We are live right now and have been for the last hour or so, hour and a half, on Twitch at twitch. Oops, that's the chat. Twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. The reason we talk about this platform so much is not because it's owned by Jeff Bezos, which is a bad thing, you know, you would think, but because YouTube consistently denies me the right to live stream on their platform. I just received another strike, each one more ridiculous than the last. The last one was from less than a week ago, which ended up clearing. This one is on a video called March for Our Lives, Fake News, which was a video debunking the conspiracy theory that the March for Our Lives was planned before the Parkland school shooting. Debunking it. That got a strike for bullying and harassment, believe it or not. So before this show started, this recording started, and after this recording is over, I'll still be live on Twitch. So you can join me there at the link I gave you, twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. This show is sponsored by my company, my little company, Truth Revolution Clothing, which makes t-shirts and has some merchandise. I'm wearing the Russian bot shirt today because only Russian bots spread this kind of Russian, pro-Russian government, Russian regime propaganda, which you're going to hear on this show today. That's what they would say. That's what they would say. Because I'm not going to necessarily say exactly what the mainstream media is saying, what Donald Trump is saying, what Nikki Haley is saying, and I might suggest that some of their counterparts in the Russian side or the Syrian side might be speaking with a little more coherent and sensibility. So you heard the quote there from the Syrian representative noting that Mattis just last year or earlier this year, or last year it would have been, said that there was no evidence of a chemical attack in Khan Shaykhun, which happened about a year ago today. And if we look back through history and you really look at it, there has been no evidence thus far that the Syrian regime, as they call them, the Syrian government, has been involved in any chemical attacks of any kind. Those that could be verified, there's no way to put them on the Syrian regime. And we have to ask ourselves, any reasonable person has to ask, why would a guy that's in control of the war, that's about to free the last remaining stronghold of the terrorists attacking his country and his people, he's about to evacuate them. And in fact, it's mostly a done deal. He's already made a deal to have them get the hell out of there. And the absolute one thing that Assad could do to make sure that Western powers take notice and that the tide could change in any way would be to use chemical weapons. And lo and behold, right out in the middle of everybody, they decided to drop some chemical weapons. And we have video. We know this because we have pictures. We know this because we have video evidence. Nikki Haley will remind you over and over that we have pictures. I wish I could show you all of the pictures and you could decide for yourself how they look. We're going to get the opinion of the Russian representative to the UN on what he thinks of the chemical weapons attack. And we're just going to see if we all agree. This is the other thing. See if everybody can get together, because we're talking about getting together, about being a community, not agreeing to disagree. People who follow Q, people who don't follow Q, people who love Donald Trump, people who don't love Donald Trump. You know, we can all agree, I hope, that we're all anti-war. So hopefully we can come together and all agree on that. I'll maybe talk about Q and the Trump side, MAGA side, a little bit later. But let me just review some of the things that have been said today. Let me tell you how my day started, just so you have everything and you know what's been going on in the world before what may be an imminent launch of cruise missiles into Syria, perhaps into Damascus. This is how we started the day with our press briefing from Sarah Sanders. Sarah
As the
Huckabee
President
Sanders.
noted yesterday and again today during the cabinet meeting, the chemical weapons attack by Syrian regime against innocent civilians is horrifying. The images, especially of suffering children, have shocked the conscience of the entire civilized world. Sadly, these actions are consistent with Assad's established pattern of chemical weapons use. His forces are already responsible for previous chemical weapons attacks and other actions targeting civilians. The President has noted that Russia and Iran also bear responsibility for these acts, since they would not be possible without their material support. It is also now clear that Russia has betrayed its obligations to guarantee the end of the Syrian regime's chemical weapons program. The President and his national security team are consulting closely with allies and partners to determine the appropriate response. As President Trump clearly stated, there will be a price to pay.
There will be a price to pay. That's what he said in his tweets. So do we want to review what was said and just note the attention on Russia and Iran? These are countries that the New World Order is against. Does Donald Trump, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Is he being fooled by the deep state? Is he the one who tweeted out these tweets? Some people say he didn't. Some people say, I think Jack Posobiec says he didn't write these tweets. Well, they're still up. And he still said basically the same thing out of his mouth, which we could see, as long as that wasn't a deep fake. Many dead, including women and children, in mindless chemical attack in Syria. Area of atrocity is in lockdown and encircled by a Syrian army, making it completely inaccessible to outside world. President Putin, Russia, and Iran are responsible for backing animal Assad, making it completely inaccessible to the outside world, he says. That's important, because what do we have from Syria? What proof do we have that chemical weapons were used, when Russia claims that they have some evidence that there were no chemical weapons used in Syria? What do we have? We have pictures and video from the white helmets. So what does Nikki Haley focus on in her speech in front of the United Nations Security Council? Let me give you, I said I was planning to call this Beating the Drums of War. Let's see what Nikki Haley had to say.
No one should ever have to see. I could hold up pictures of babies lying dead next to their mothers, brothers and sisters, toddlers and infants still in diapers, all lying together, dead. Their skin is the ashen blue that is now tragically familiar from chemical weapons scenes. Their eyes are open and lifeless. White foam bubbles from their mouths and noses. Pictures of dead Syrians who are not soldiers, people who are not armed, people who are the very definition of innocent and non-threatening. Women and children hiding in basements from a renewed assault by Bashar al-Assad.
Pictures of all of those things. Here are some of the images out of Syria with some commentary by Al Jazeera, which I played on my show yesterday. Just to drill home, what we have is pictures.
A window into what life is like in the rebel-held enclave of Douma. Children, mothers, fathers struggle for oxygen after a suspected chemical attack. Reporters cannot get into the town, civilians cannot get out. So internet videos are the only evidence of their suffering.
Internet videos are the only evidence of their suffering. It was reported, and take it for how you will, that Donald Trump retaliated against the attacks in Khan Shaykhun, which, as the Syrian representative pointed out, Mattis later had to say we had no evidence that Syria was behind those attacks. It was reported that Donald Trump really got mad and decided to do something when he saw pictures of dead children from that attack. Allegedly, Russia claims that the pictures this time are staged. I'm going to play that for you. Not saying I'm a Russian bot. I'm just saying that's what they claim. You heard Sarah Huckabee Sanders mention Russia and Iran. You saw Donald Trump mention Russia and Iran. I just want to banging the drums of war just on that theme. Here is the focus on Russia and Iran.
The Russian regime, whose hands are all covered in the blood of Syrian children, cannot be ashamed by pictures of its victims. We've tried that before. We must not overlook Russia and Iran's roles in enabling the Assad regime's murderous destruction. Russia and Iran have military advisors at Assad's airfields and operation centers. Russian officials are on the ground helping direct the regime's Starve and Surrender campaign, and Iranian allied forces do much of the dirty work. When the Syrian military pummels civilians, they rely on the military hardware given by Russia. Russia could stop this senseless slaughter if it wanted, but it stands with the Assad regime and supports without any hesitation.
Okay, see, been a lot of pressure on Russia lately. The Skripal poisoning case is actually falling apart from the UK, although that's discussed in this 2.5-hour meeting of the UN Security Council. That is touched on. The Russians ask simple, sensible questions about things like evidence. And as far as we see, they are ridiculed for doing that, and people call them conspiracy theorists. I'm going to play for you here. You're going to have to listen to the translation in one ear. This is the Russian response. They have done some investigating on the ground, as a matter of fact, and well, I'll let the Russian tell you the story from his mouth. Here we go.
You are not convinced by the information we provided to you today. You merely don't wish to hear this. We already told you there are no witnesses to the use of chemical weapons at all. There are no traces of chemical weapons. Neither the victims, neither killed, nor the wounded. Nobody turned to the hospitals. The footage that was shown was clearly staged, which was provided by the White Helmets. We demand that the OPCW mission immediately visit Duma, immediately visit to the area of the alleged chemical weapons attack, to interview medical staff and residents, and to collect soil samples.
Sounds pretty straightforward, huh? The Russians demand that the International Organization for the Prevention of Chemical Weapons, the OPCW, demand that they go immediately to the site of the alleged crime, war crime. Use of chemical weapons against Assad's own people. Yet, without that demand being met, without any proof that there was a chemical weapons attack carried out in the first place at all, the only proof we have is White Helmets video. And the White Helmets are known for their mannequin challenge, right? Have you guys all seen the White Helmets mannequin challenge? Just to let us know who this information is coming from. It's worth reviewing. It's worth reviewing things from time to time for people who aren't familiar with the history of the White Helmets. Here is a video they made as a joke when the mannequin challenge hashtag was trending. They later had to retract it and say it was in bad taste. They stage, well, they frequently release to media and on their Twitter account videos that look just like this. This apparently was just done as a promotional tool, just a way for them to get some attention, and they only learned later that it was in bad taste. That is how all of their videos look. And they just demonstrated that they could stage a very realistic looking rescue operation. Always running their GoPro cameras, they are. A lot of people say they're a propaganda arm. I think I can say that. It's okay calling geopolitical events or calling question to geopolitical events more so than it is things like mass shootings and so forth. I believe. Although there is no sanity to go by the way YouTube operates. So the next thing we might know is that videos like this that question, you know, war, for example, question the justifications for war. It may be that those are the next things to find the ban hammer. As far as I can tell so far, the traffic is being suppressed on the videos that I made about Syria possibly being the gas attack, the alleged gas attack in Syria possibly being a false flag. In the videos where I mentioned that, the traffic is noticeably low, I could say. After, you know, starts out and then drops immediately. So there is some evidence that there may be manipulation going on, but that's why it's more important than ever that we bring you the news, that we bring you the real news. I wanted to play you a lot of the things people are saying, and I continue to be live right now on Twitch. By the time this goes up, I should still be live. If you guys tune in there, I may take phone calls and we'll go over some other things that are in the news or a little bit different than the news, and we definitely play things that we can't play on YouTube. So, like I said, not much censorship there yet. So, thanks everybody for joining me. Let's all, well, I want to say hope for the best. Be prepared for anything. Be prepared. I guess that's all I can say. Be prepared for us to have launched some sort of attack by the time you wake up tomorrow. And be prepared if things look like they're going to get serious, for there to be other repercussions like the crash in the stock market, which will have big consequences on the economy in general. And anyway, we're not end times news report or anything, but be prepared for that kind of thing now that we're talking about war, because I don't know where we go from here. Just one missile attack really isn't enough. I mean, the deep state wants an overthrow of the Syrian government, and anything short of an overthrow of the Syrian government is not good enough for the deep state and the New World Order. So what is Trump going to be goaded into doing? I mean, how far are we going to go this time? And do we already have Russian airplanes buzzing our ships? And Russia says they will retaliate for any act of aggression from the United States or other Western powers, that they'll attack the missiles themselves and they'll attack the places they came from. And I'm sure that harassing our ship is just the beginning. So, like I said, be prepared for things to be very different tomorrow. And I guess we will hope for the best. So from me and Doshi, who had a great show, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you at my next video. That is what it is.